Good morning. Welcome to worship with Winston-Salem Friends Meeting in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. My name is Cheryl Bridges, and I will be bringing this morning's prepared message. Before we do that, let's take a minute to settle in and center down and join together in heart, mind, body, and spirit. Good morning. As I sat in discernment about today's message, I distinctly heard, could be bad, could be good, too soon to tell. I whined back at what I heard in my head, but wait, I've already spoken about that topic. It might have been a couple of years ago, but I remember we had a lot of fun around it. But in case you weren't part of the group that heard that original message, or maybe you've forgotten the story that illustrated it, I'll share it with you again. It's an ancient story you've probably heard one time or another about a Chinese farmer and his son. There once lived a farmer and his son on the northern frontier of China. One day, the farmer's horse ran away beyond the fields and across the border. His neighbors rushed to his side and lamented, "Oh, how horrible! What a tragedy! How will you ever tend the farm without a horse?" But the farmer simply replied, "Could be bad, could be good. Too soon to tell." A few weeks later, while the farmer and his son were digging in the fields, their horse came galloping back to the farm. And it wasn't alone. It was accompanied by a splendid stallion. Well, the neighbors, seeing the horses, danced with joy. "What a great fortune! Now you'll be able to get twice as much work done, and you'll be rich beyond measure." Well, once again, the farmer replied, "Could be good, could be bad. Too soon to tell." The neighbors scratched their heads and returned to their fields bewildered and befuddled by the farmer's response. The farmer's son took on the task of training this beautiful stallion for work in the fields. One day, while riding the stallion, he was thrown off, and his hip was broken. Everyone knew how the farmer relied on his son to help him with the crops. And yet again they rushed to his side, crying, "Oh, what a terrible catastrophe has been brought upon you! Surely you won't be able to handle the farm now." And once again the wise old farmer said, "Could be bad, could be good. Too soon to tell." Well, it wasn't long afterward that nomadic warriors invaded the nearby border. All the able-bodied men from the village were drafted to fight in the battle. But the farmer's son had to stay home because of his broken hip. Well, you can guess how the story goes from there. Could be bad, could be good. Too soon to tell. Well, when our stories in life are unfolding, it's good to take a neutral stance and withhold judgment or to assess the situation. It's healthy for us to resist creating a dichotomy of good versus bad. Just let it be for the time being, whatever it is a positive way to handle it. My son is very skilled at shrugging his shoulders, just like the Chinese farmer, saying, "We'll see." At times, that approach is very helpful, yet at times, it absolutely drives me crazy. So as I reflected on where today's message was going, it turned out that there's a twist to it. Too Soon to Tell Part 2 rises out of what George Fox wrote in 1647. "I saw that there was an ocean of darkness and death, but an infinite ocean of light and love, which flowed over the ocean of darkness. And in that I saw the infinite love of God, and I had great openings." An infinite ocean of light and love that flows over darkness, and I had great openings. What if we stood in the midst of a situation that might well seem bad and hold the vision of that infinite ocean of light and love as the vision of how things might be. What Christian theologian Walter Brueggemann called the prophetic imagination. It's the willingness to look past what the world seems to be in order to imagine the best that it might be. In some way, it might mean not looking at it as reality. Another Christian icon, Julian of Norwich, puts it more simply: all shall be well, all shall be well. All manner of things shall be well. What if we stand in the gap between events and reactions and trust all shall be well? Some might say it's naive or unrealistic to hold situations in that kind of positive light. More than once I've been accused of being a Pollyanna. I totally get the need to look at things realistically. But we Quakers are well equipped to swim in that ocean of light and love. It's been part of our culture since its inception. There are a few ways, just a few ways that I'm going to give you that of Quaker practices that can help us explore and promote positive possibilities. First and foremost, and always, check in with your own inner teacher. Take some time, center down, and listen to the guidance of your own inner spirit. Remember, no one has authority over the wisdom you discern. Of course, part of our ethos is testing those discernments within our communities. But first, we have to give time and attention to the truth within our own spirits. Second, stay curious. Historically, friends have invited marginalized voices into the conversation. Some of us keep an open mind, and some also keep an open heart. We even have a somewhat comical way to keep our minds open. When someone makes a suggestion that sounds somewhat beyond what our logic would have caused us to consider, we respond politely. That thought, or name, or idea would not have occurred to me. We suspend our disbelief until we have clarity from new information and new insights. The third thing is to ask questions. Queries are intended to evoke from us new possibilities through self-awareness and self-exploration. Questions can help us, and they might include: what's right about this situation? What else is possible? How does it get better from here? What good am I not yet seeing? And lastly, the Quaker testimonies themselves: peace, equality, community, integrity, simplicity. Those spicy perspectives give us focused direction in which to take and seek new information. They offer a wide variety of ways and directions in which we can add light to any situation. In his book, Peace is Every Step, Thich Nhat Hanh calls this approach nurturing healthy seeds. In addition to our own Quaker practices, Thich Nhat Hanh recommends mindfulness, meditation, compassion, understanding, even hugging, And the question Thich Nhat Hanh asks is, what's not wrong here? Seeking the light in any situation doesn't mean giving up healthy boundaries. It doesn't mean not questioning what in the world is going on here. Nor does it mean not taking any action. The action comes out of all of those ways that we can discern how light might look. But this also does present the challenge of being non-judgmental. It's up to us to find responses that expand the light rather than diminish it. All said, though, that's not an easy task. It's easier to lament and cry, "This is bad," than it is to hold that prophetic vision of how things might look. South African Quaker activist and award-winning cosmologist George Ellis calls this approach the theory of kenosis. In layman's terms, it's the science of hope. Ellis actually proposes that it's formational to and embedded in the fibers of the universe. He proposes that hope is part of its mathematical structure. As we stand in the middle of so many recent events that do feel hopeless, it feels as though holding a positive outlook is foolhardy. We should be enraged. We should be outraged. We should be waving our fists and fighting back. We can't trust or even hope that things are going to work out. Getting caught up in the crisis du jour, we forget to look for, we forget to seek out new openings of light and love. Ellis tells Krista Tippett in an interview, "You have to empty your mind of your preconceived notions. If you refuse to be someone's enemy, then they don't know how to handle it." To hold a higher hope is to transform a situation, be it short-term or long-term. In his work to peacefully resist apartheid in South Africa, Ellis saw time and time again how good seemed to inexplicably push back the overwhelming tide of malevolence just when it appeared that things were hopeless. Interestingly enough, Julianne of Norwich taps into the science of hope in the passage I cited earlier. All shall be well, all shall be well, all manner of things shall be well. But she goes on to say, for there is a force of love moving through the universe that holds us fast and will never let us go. I'd like to leave you with a quote from Rufus Jones. In 1927, Jones wrote, "Quakers think it is a matter of good deal of importance to have a body of people, even though it may be a small body, and I like to add maybe it's even just one person, who will not surrender their ideal, their vision of advance, even in the face of the earthquake and the broken strata. It is worth something to have the lighted torch held high when others have allowed the swirl of the storm to blow theirs out." And so it is. Amen.